Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Eat the Donut, where we are achieving fat loss freedom with a happily ever after. Today, I have a very special guest, has one of the best beards I've ever seen, is one of the friggin' most jack guys I've ever seen, strong as a bull. But Mr. Brandon Hagar, what's going on, man?
Hey, brother, I appreciate the kind words. You're gonna make me blush before we even get started.
That's what I try. I try to work my magic, try to
Yeah, man.
fluff you up a little bit before we get this going.
Oh, geez, now I gotta talk to Todd. Oh.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. But how's it going, man? How's life been?
Good, busy, but like I scheduled this whole day out just for this podcast. I was stoked to be on.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
yeah, dude. As many takes as it takes.
Yeah, dude. For the people just listening now, or not just listening in, but we're gonna pretend like we haven't tried this three times already, because for whatever reason it stopped recording. But we're gonna pretend like this was our first take, and no one needs to know about the
Yeah,
other three takes so far.
yeah, you just said it, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. They'll get past it.
Also, but I have a question
Sure.
for you. Uh, we've done this is our third take, right?
Yep.
How many different intros do you have? Because I've heard three different intros and they're all amazing. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I kind of just wing the intro each time, just see what comes to the top of my mind, I guess.
Okay.
But I kind of keep it the relatively the same idea. Well, it's funny because I do have an intro for you. The first two times I didn't fucking say it, so I don't know why I didn't. I just froze up, I guess. You get me nervous, man. You get me nervous.
That's fair.
But um, but yeah, I just try to keep it to ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. And then I had this whole spiel like, all right, Brandon's jacked. He's handsome as hell. He's best beard in the league, most manly man I've ever seen. But
Okay.
we're making this into a weird podcast.
All
It is
right.
what it is. One take show, or I guess I should say three take show.
Three
Um,
takes.
but yeah, that's I got no good answer for you. I just mix it
All
up.
right. I like it, dude. I love it. That's awesome.
I love it. But all right. So first question I have for you. I ask this to most of my interviewees is, what's your favorite donut?
Oof. That's a tough question. I don't eat a lot of donuts. I do love them though. They're
I can
really
tell you
good.
don't eat a lot of donuts, dude.
Not because I can't, but because
No.
I just don't. Glazed is always a go-to, but if
Yep.
I were to be honest, I think I have to lean towards maple. I'm a big maple guy.
Big maple guy, huh? Like a maple
Yeah.
glazed?
Yeah, yeah.
I like that. I like that. Absolutely. What do you have like a go-to like dessert if donuts isn't your thing? Like do you have a go-to sweet, maybe a better way to say it?
Um, Not really.
No.
I do really like cheesecake. Cheesecake's a
Okay.
big one for me. I love cheesecake. I don't eat it that often, but I do if the opportunity if I'm at Cheesecake Factory, I'm diving in. That's for sure.
Dude, the Cheesecake Factory menu, they have a whole book
Yeah.
of all the
Oh yeah.
cheesecakes, all the dishes.
Oh yeah.
Love it. I
Can't
love
miss
it.
out on that.
So, anyways, Brandon, to start things off or to kick things off, just tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Like what I do or like just
Yeah, you can talk about the day you were born and how you got to where you're at now, like wherever you want to start.
all right, cool. I guess we'll the main plot line. Let's go there.
Sure.
I was I was in high school. I was, overweight. I grew up overweight, kind of troubled childhood, whatever you want to call it. I lost 60 pounds in high school, quit like everything cold turkey, would not recommend. Then I joined the military, the Marine Corps infantry, because I was looking for something hard, something like the next hard step. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. It's funny because I went to every week they do like a PT, like a physical PT thing. And I knew a guy that was going, and he's like, every time I go, I throw up, and they love it. I'm like, oh, that sounds like right up my alley. I don't
Yes.
know why. I was, I guess I'm a masochist, whatever. But went, loved it. Now I'm out of the military,
Hmm.
so I did my time.
Did your time.
Uh, went right into I love fitness. It changed
Hmm.
my life. But getting out of the military, went straight into like in-home personal training.
Okay.
And now I'm here as a nutritional coach online. I have some powerlifters I train. That's kind of like my side passion, kind of side hobby, I guess, and I love that. Prepping for my first powerlifting meet.
Sweet,
I've
let's
already,
go.
taken guys and gals through powerlifting competitions at this point,
Sweet.
so it's about time I do my first.
I love that. I love that. I've done one powerlifting meet, and I remember as what was it, like 3 or 4 years ago, but it was so fun. The community of powerlifting is unbelievable. It is
It's wild.
so very
Yeah.
welcoming and everyone just rooting for you. I did more of a it wasn't it was obviously like a competition, but it didn't feel like a competition. Everyone's just kind of rooting for each other, which I feel like
Right.
probably is most competitions. But I just remember being a little timid at first, just because
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, there's some bulls here, there's some jacked and strong individuals, but then just realizing how welcoming everyone was. Has that been sort of your experience so far?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every time, I'm going, most of the competitions I've been to, I mean, all of them I was coaching. And the energy in the room, everybody's super nice and supportive. It's so weird because you'd think they wouldn't be,
Hmm.
but they are. Everybody loves each other.
Yeah.
It's a great time.
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of good things I want to talk about today. I want to talk about more
Mhm.
of like your powerlifting, your military experience, but starting more behind your health and fitness. So you talked about how you kind of went cold turkey at a younger age. Was it in high school, you said, and you
Yeah.
dropped 60 pounds.
Hmm.
What sort of made that switch for you to kind of get into your fitness and losing weight and all that stuff?
So a lot of things. I think as for most people, I believe for most people, change isn't just something that just happens. They don't just decide, hey, I want to lose 60 pounds or
Hmm.
whatever it is. It's more of a snowball. I grew up with this scarcity mindset, broken household, and just it wasn't a good childhood. One household, I was not eating barely anything.
Oh, wow.
The other household, I was over consuming,
Sure.
and every chance I got. So it was like that scarcity mindset. I had to like fuel up here, so I
Hmm.
didn't have to here.
Yeah,
So I gained a lot of weight and I was, I was just I had a bunch of social anxiety as a kid. Like it was crazy. I couldn't go to gas stations and swipe a credit card because I was so afraid
sure.
of like the embarrassment. It was weird things like that, but it was everywhere. So that kind of ruled my life, and I had absolutely no control. So
Mhm.
snowballing over and over. I was overweight, didn't have many friends. I wasn't funny. I wasn't like that funny fat kid. So, didn't work out in my favor,
Yeah.
right?
It's usually like if
Uh,
you're a little fat, you got to be funny at least, right?
right. I
And you
wasn't
didn't
because I
have that
was,
going for you.
yeah, not a funny guy. That's for sure. Funny looking maybe, but it's about it. So snowballing over and over. My sister was getting into fitness, my oldest sister. She was running a lot. She has that, determination, that all or nothing mindset, that cardio is the only way. So and then she was eating like her verbiage. I remember every time she'd be like, I'm going on a diet, she'd be like, this is my last supper. And my mother would
Sure.
hate it. Like, that's a terrible thing to say. So a lot of that it snowballed and stemmed into the way I lost the weight. Quit everything cold turkey. I was, drinking
Hmm.
a lot of sugary drinks, beverages, eating a lot of ultra processed, palatable foods.
Hmm.
And I just a flip switch one day and I quit everything. I was in high school and then I got super skinny and I became a long distance runner.
Hmm.
Did Spartan race in high school and stuff like that. Just fell in love with like the pain, I guess.
Yeah.
And, that took that all or nothing mindset and went as far as I could into the military.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, and I don't want to speak for you, but it's almost like you went from probably one style of pain to like, well, I like this pain better because this is going to create this effect, so I'll handle this pain. So it's like sort of the idea is like I'm torturing myself at this as this kid who is, feels like this scarcity mindset, overweight, all these things, but let me torture myself in ways I can control, which also
Hmm.
brings this almost this outcome that you know, maybe it's an image thing, maybe whatever it is, but it's almost going from like one way of torturing to another way of torturing, right?
100%.
Yeah,
And I at the core, I do believe that, change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. But I don't think it, that can be misused in different ways. Like
sure,
you have to be, no matter what direction you're going, it's gonna hurt, but it doesn't have to hurt as bad as people think. And I think that's just a misconception. Like obviously I went to the military, a lot of yelling, a lot of hazing, a lot of stuff like that. And people
sure.
think, oh, I'm gonna be this, excuse my French, hard ass
Yeah.
with everything. But that's not really the case.
Sure, sure. I know it's funny too, where it's I forget what the saying is, but it's almost like it's like pick, like you're saying, like sort of pick your pain and pick your suck, like pick your heart. I think that's what the saying I'm trying to think of, but like pick your heart, like it's gonna be hard either way,
Hmm.
whether it's now or down the road, or you do this versus that. But hopefully it's like picking that hard that helps you grow and develop, maybe obviously in health and fitness, develop a lifestyle that adds value to your life and helps you grow and all that stuff. Um,
Right.
Now, obviously, how long have you been coaching now?
It's been 2 years. Yeah, 2 years about nutritional coaching, a little less than 2 years nutritional coaching.
Cool. And you were a personal trainer before that, or is
I
that also
was.
2 years?
No, before that, as soon as I got out of the military, I got out in 2021. As soon as I
Okay.
got out, I went right into it.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
Hmm.
Cool. So let's kind of talk about the military. So
Hmm.
when you enlisted, was it very much behind like I want to do something that's challenging, that's gonna suck, or was there another sort of reason that sort of made you like, hey, no, I want to serve my country? Like, where did that come from?
It was a mixture of all the above. I think
Hmm.
part of me at the time, it was like, oh, it's for my friends. And because once I lost the weight, I got
Yeah.
heavily into ag programs in my school. I mean, I was a welder. I did a bunch of stuff. I had a lot of friends. Like I was
Hmm.
way more popular than I ever had been. And part of me loved those people, the people I was around, and I just wanted to kind of fight for my family, fight for
Hmm.
my friends and family, kind of protect and serve. I was known
Cool.
as like a big brother in high school, whatever.
Hmm.
But now that I'm, aged, I realize that a lot of it was me that social anxiety induced kid
Hmm.
trying to come out of his shell and trying to prove that he has confidence and build that confidence in other ways. And, scarcity mindset going extremes, all or nothing. It's like this Marine Corps infantry is like in my head at the time was like the epitome of manlyhood. Like
Hmm.
if I'm a Marine, like I have to have all the confidence in the world. And that's
Sure.
what they fed me. Pain is weakness leaving the body is a big
Mhm.
saying they use, stuff like that. I'm like, there's nothing more manly than this. This is my confidence. This is where it's gonna come from. Obviously, later on, it's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, sure, sure. That's funny. It almost even sounds like you used this fear, this scarcity to, let's say, like challenge yourself to not be scared and have this fear of maybe even like, I don't want to call it like an insecurity of not feeling like manly enough, but it's like, hey, I do want to become more, manly. I feel like this is the decision to make, so let me enlist. Obviously, there's more reasons than just that. But it's almost like using that fear as a motivator.
Yeah, 100%. You're right. I mean, you're right to say like it was an insecurity. And I can say all day, I wanted to fight for my country and all that stuff. And yeah, sure, that's a part of it, but I'd be lying to myself and others if that was the only part of it.
Yeah. And like it's not a bad thing. That's why, very similar story. I didn't have 60 pounds to lose, but I was very much a chubbier kid growing up all the way through high school. It wasn't until like my senior year going into college. Personally, I didn't want to be the chubby kid anymore who always got teased and made fun of for that. So I had an insecurity of my image, right?
Hmm.
What I looked like. So I was like, I don't want to be that in college. I want to be, this person I look up to as this jacked, ladies man type person. Like that's what I want to become. And not to say I was a ladies man because I married my high school sweetheart. So
There you
hopefully
go.
she doesn't listen to this and be like, what are you trying to do? But but no, just to create this image, right?
Right.
And that came from my own insecurities. And I think a lot of times people sometimes get scared of using fear as like a motivator, but a lot of times it ends up being our main driver to make changes. And obviously, through the process of, when I was 18 onwards to today, there's a lot that shapes you and you start to learn and like, oh, this is what got me in, but there's other things that keep me around as far as being in the gym, taking care of my nutrition. But sometimes you use that insecurity, that fear to at least get you through the door and then you develop as you go through it.
Yeah, 100%. I actually realized I love teaching. Like I'm a
Hmm.
teacher at heart. Like before the military, I was like, maybe I'll go be a teacher. Like I love guiding people, teaching people, and I realized through coaching that I learned more about myself teaching other people than I would ever on my own. So it's like me telling other people like it's the internal work that matters the most. I I'm working intern. I have to work on myself internally because I don't want to be a hypocrite. And
Hmm.
it makes me a better person overall. It makes me a better coach. It makes me acknowledge these things back then I would never have. And,
Sure.
stick around, like realizing now I'm trying to be healthy, fit for not only myself, but my future family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what was it like in your time in the military, like physically and mentally?
Rough,
Rough.
rough. Excuse me. Gonna get a tear jerker right now.
Yeah, it's all right. Getting
Uh,
choked up.
no, I was so as soon as I got there, I was immediately told, like, think of like the social anxiety kid, right?
Yep.
Where he comes from. Still social, have even after I was past boot camp, I was a Marine in the infantry, getting to my main duty station. Um, I was told almost immediately that they were basically grooming me to be a leader. And I'm like, crap. I'm not that guy. I don't want to be that guy. I never
Sure.
wanted to be. So they tried to build me up to be this leader figure
Hmm.
right from the get-go. Um, it was rough mentally because I didn't want to fail people.
Hmm.
So I was trying my best, but also I didn't have the understanding to myself to realize that I I should accept these roles and not like fight against them. And that's the like I wanted to be a good leader, but I didn't feel like I deserved it. So it was a constant battle throughout my entire Marine Corps career, fighting between not wanting to be a leader, not thinking I deserve to be a leader, and then being one at the same time. And
Sure.
then losing leadership positions only to fight for them back and
Hmm.
becoming better and better. So it was struggle that way. Physically, I came from this. I in boot camp, I got less fit. I gained weight
Okay.
in boot camp, right? Um, not you don't hear that too often, but
No,
I was that guy.
I love it.
I had broken my foot. I had pneumonia for 2 weeks.
Wow.
So I had the flu at one point. Like I was
Mhm.
having a tough time in boot camp.
Yeah.
But once I got to my duty station, I quickly, became one of the I guess, fastest, strongest, whatever you want to say. I was ahead in PTs. I was more advanced than others. Not to gloat, that's just what it was. It just meant I had to do more hard shit.
Yeah.
Being a leader, there's been numerous times when I had to carry other people's packs. Like you have to be able to have the strength and the ability to do things like if somebody falls out on a big hike, the mentally, physically, you have to take their pack because in a real life situation, there's no falling out. You can't afford to fall out. So somebody else has to pick up the slack somewhere. And it's usually the leader in this
Hmm.
case. So physically, I was physically good. I was good in the
Yeah.
military. I mean, there's been times when, I could have been better, but yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. Um, so it seems like more of the challenge was the developing that leadership role, the mental aspect of things. Was
Hmm.
there any like point in time during that where, again, you said this early on, I don't think things necessarily just like click. I think it's like
Hmm.
this compound effect that over time it just starts to come together. But was there anything where you finally felt comfortable, or at least more comfortable than at least you initially started in that leadership role?
Yeah. I was a team leader for most of the time. And then I went on to be a squad leader. And when they told me, they like announced it to everybody, like, Hagar's going to be a squad leader. I'm like, all right, let's do it. I felt excitement, almost like I was finally able to fit into a role, finally able to prove myself as confident, not as insecure. And, I stepped into that role and I encouraged it and I loved it. We did great. It was a lot of me stumbling over my own feet to figure out how to do everything because I was the youngest squad leader at the time. I was the lowest ranking squad leader at the time. So it was me trying to catch up to these higher guys, these better guys. But it worked well. It really worked well for my squad, for me. I loved it. It was hard work, long office hours back in the rear, a lot of picking up the slack of others. But quickly, I realized it wasn't all I thought it would be, you
Okay.
know. Um, the confidence wasn't truly there. Like I still didn't think I deserved it too. And we had a lot of other people that came in from other units at one point, and they were higher ranking, qualified or not, they were higher ranking.
Hmm.
So they kicked me out of my leadership position, which I had to fight for back.
Hmm.
A lot of people stopped caring. A lot of like leaders and young people stopped caring. So I quickly lost as quick as I became a leader, I quickly lost that motivation to even strive to be one. So mentally, it really messed with me not having that space anymore because that's all I was trying to be my entire career, and then
Hmm.
losing it and gaining it back, but only to find nobody cared about it anymore.
Sure.
It was a lot of weird dynamics. It's kind of hard to explain, like
No.
in simple terms.
Sure. Sure. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, right, right.
That's one of Brandon's go-to lines, which I actually have planned to talk about later. No, but very cool. Now, going from military to then now coaching,
Mhm.
did you take anything initially with you from your military to now that you use today in coaching? Obviously, I'm sure it's not like screaming at people, telling them to get in the mud and all that shit, but like, is there any like lessons you learned that are really a big staple into your coaching today?
Yeah, at first, I have to say, when I first started coaching, I absolutely denied anything military. Like it
Hmm.
was,
Cool.
it's a toxic, like in reality, it's a toxic community.
Hmm.
A lot of toxic things. It's not a good way to live. It's not a good way to strive,
Sure.
or thrive. And I just denied it all. So I fought that side of myself and I tried to deny anything I learned from it. But now, after aging a little bit more, I now realize that a lot of the things I learned in the military still apply even more heavily to civilian world, right? Things like complacency kills in the military. I made a video about this. Complacency kills in the military. That can mean life or death, but in the real life, it just means always thriving, always striving for more, and trying and not allowing yourself to fall victim to this complacent lifestyle that's just not improving and just staying the same. I think it does still
Yeah.
kills us in a different way.
Yeah.
Imperfect action. That's come straight out of the military and I denied it so much
Sure.
until I joined, I got in with, Jason
Yep.
and NCI and stuff like that. And they talked about it more and more. And I'm like, man, I had so much anxiety around everything until I started taking imperfect action. If I just
Hmm.
owned this from the start, I would have been it would have been so much better for me. Uh, Things like leading from the front,
Yeah.
always not being a hypocrite, like I was talking about earlier,
Yep.
actually applying what I teach and utilizing that and showing that to the world and being, vulnerable in that aspect. So a lot of things come from military. I denied and I had to bring back and relearn in a different light.
Yeah. And the hypocrite one's a big one. And to be honest, like initially when I started online coaching, goes back to my own personal like image issues. It's like you worry about what people are gonna think. So that's why I made it to a point even recently to start vlogging a little bit more, to show a little bit more of my life of one, show my personality and all that stuff, but to show that like this past weekend, I went out this weekend, went to
Hmm.
this whole festival thing, enjoyed myself, drank alcohol, the whole
Hmm.
spiel. But obviously, I'm in this fat loss phase, and just to show that imperfections and that like, hey, it's all gonna be okay. Like you're still gonna make great progress, all this stuff. But I think those are one a lot of great points. But even if that action is messy, like take it. Who gives a shit if it's perfect or not? Like
Right.
that's the sort of one of the mental grinds, that all or nothing mentality that I've personally always had as well. And it's just like such an easy justification to use, like an excuse to use of not taking the action, or because it's what it ends up being easier and all these things as well, like more comfortable to not take it and all that stuff. It's because now you don't have to push that through that mental barrier, that mental wall. Um, and it just becomes again an easier excuse, this justification to not do it. But like for me, like being able to show that side, I think it makes us like one, human and very relatable. But two, that's what gets results. Like just you got to keep going. You got to lean into it. You got to at least take some sort of action, no matter how clean or messy it is, just to at least develop that consistency over time.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. And to go back to the
Yeah,
perfectionism thing, um, I truly believe that perfectionism is just an overthinker's excuse to not
yeah,
act. And yeah,
100%.
I mean, paralysis by analysis is
Hmm.
definitely a big issue for a lot of people. If it's not perfect, if they're not all in, if they can't be all in,
Hmm.
they won't do it at all, and they just negate action altogether. And I mean, I've fallen in that trap. A lot of veterans
Yeah,
fall into that trap because you develop this all or nothing mindset in the military more than anything. When we're drinking, it's all or nothing.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
so I mean, things like that definitely carry over in real life, but. I do perfectionism was a huge issue.
yeah,
Perfectionism
yeah.
was a huge issue for me my entire life.
Yeah, and to add to that, like it's just bullshit. Like we're not perfect.
Right. Yeah.
I always make the joke, like I'm a big being I so as you know, I live in San Diego now, but I grew up in Massachusetts, so big football fan, big Tom Brady fan. So I always make the joke, like Tom Brady, as perfect as he is, he's still actually not perfect. Like he didn't
Hmm.
win every Super Bowl, he didn't like throw a touchdown every pass, all these things. Even like, obviously go back to childhood. And you can even get to a deeper layer of this stuff where it's like, all right, well, yeah, Tom Brady's really good at football, but like obviously his relationship didn't work out that well. Like there's something there. And
Hmm.
I was talking to a buddy of mine a while ago, and he was talking more of like, we got to stop acting like these people are all on this pedestal. Like, we got to stop putting them on
Hmm.
this pedestal. And they use like Tiger Woods, for example. Like, oh, he's this god of golf, all these things. But again, going back to his relationship stuff, like, holy shit, that was messy. So it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, he was really good at golf, but obviously he has his own struggles. So there really isn't anyone perfect out there. And it is just a bunch of bullshit, in my opinion, where it's like, your kids walking and they fall over, do you just tell them not to walk anymore? Like, hey, walking's not for you. Like, you weren't perfect at it, so might as well quit and give up on it. But anyways, I'm sure we could have a whole conversation on this. But one thing I mentioned earlier, you always like to say, keep it simple, stupid, which I love. That's a lesson I learned early on in my coaching career. So what do you specifically mean by that? Like, why do you think people need to keep it simple?
So this is another thing that came from military, and that's why I use it so much because I'm like, it's me embracing what I learned and everything. It's part of that. But in the military, we have this saying called breaking things down Barney style, which basically just means breaking it down as to its simplest form. Because Marines are stupid. We're dumb. Like I'm not a bright person. So keeping things as simple as possible for myself is almost like a superpower because taking other concepts and making it as simple as possible to understand. It uses less brain power for other people. It makes it more understandable for people. If people, breaking it down, things down at a fifth grade level, a third grade level, even, it makes it more clearly articulated for other people. And it allows people to teach better. Like you see a lot of individuals, they want to speak big scary words because
Yep.
it makes them sound smarter. And that's sure, we can go all day with that. But are the people you're trying to teach, can they learn that way? Most
Hmm.
people can't. If they have to process what one word means, they're missing the point of the whole conversation.
Hmm.
So breaking things down in the simplest manner is kind of like my mission.
Hmm.
Not only that, but to fight against complexity because the world is complex and it's frustrating to have to
Yeah.
go through, read all this literature, go through everything and try to understand it. My mission is to make it as simple as possible so people don't have to, you know, be frustrated by it. And, for me, it opens the door for more people to come in to this health and fitness lifestyle that everyone should be a part of, truly. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the benefits of being healthy and fit are so insane that I just want to bring everyone
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. And it doesn't help too when there's, all the influencers of the world giving a bunch of nonsense BS too and making it even more complex and complex of just like false statements. Like it has to
Mhm.
be this way or it's like so black and white. You're like, no, just fucking manage your calories, eat some protein, move your body. Like let's keep it fucking simple. You don't have to do this or that or fucking the other thing. But like we have all these individuals. So I always like tell people, I'm like, I feel for you. You are confused because only what like if I had to look up like how to, fix my car or something, and there's 20 million ways to do it, I'd be like, well, I don't know which is the best way or what's the right way.
Yeah.
But like when it really comes down to this, it is simple. I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it is simple. But I can feel for people who are consuming this information and it's just so much crazy nonsense information out there that makes it more complex. So I
Yeah.
love that you do approach it from a keep it simple standpoint.
It's the fitness is convoluted and people, influencers and whatnot, they like to use the big words to make it
Yeah.
sound better and
Hmm.
hide the truth of what's really going on.
Yeah.
We can talk all day about how complex the metabolism is, but will
Sure.
that actually help anybody or just confuse more people? It's
Sure.
pointless. Nobody
Yeah.
cares. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah. No, they don't. And it'll probably
Like
only
sleep.
create more procrastination.
Right. Oh yeah, paralysis by analysis all way. Like, oh, I can't be perfect, then why am I going to try it at all?
Yeah. And luckily for me, my I always think my intelligence levels is pretty low, so I have to keep it simple. I'm dyslexic as fuck, as I always say. So big words get me all confused anyway. So I'm like, let's learn this in a simple manner so I can
Right.
explain it in a simple manner. So I think I can use that for my strength as far as keeping it simple.
There we go. Yeah, it's really a superpower.
Yeah, for sure. So you are currently preparing for a powerlifting meet, right? First one you mentioned. Did you just initially like going out of the military just like love lifting heavy afterwards? Like what got you into specifically like powerlift? Like what made you want to sign up for powerlifting?
When I was in, I did lift heavy. Like I
Mhm.
was, not I lifted powerlifter-esque.
Mhm.
I actually gained. So when I joined the military, sorry, before the military, I was 149. That was my lowest weight. Joined, gained some weight, dropped down, back down, and then I went up to towards the end of my military career, I was up to 230. And I just packed on muscle. My last deployment we had a lot of time on our hands. I just packed on as much muscle as I could. I was lifting super heavy. I was like friends with a guy that was a bodybuilder and he just lifted super heavy, so I did too.
Yeah.
But I also loved lifting. I loved the
Yeah.
mechanics of it. I loved
Mhm.
getting nitty gritty. It was like my
Mhm.
autism, I guess.
Yeah.
So I loved being super mechanical with it and nitpicky with things. I started teaching people on ship how to lift and how
Mhm.
to be efficient. And when I got out, I continued doing so. I started working in personal training at home. I kind of missed this, and I actually I was in the gym and I saw this guy that I had talked to a couple times, and he had
Mhm.
just done a powerlifting show, a powerlifting meet, and he did fairly well. But I'm like, man, watching his form and stuff, I'm like, man, if I just helped him out, like he would win first place
Yeah.
easy. Um, and I just offered to help him out. I'm like, hey, can I coach you for your next meet for free?
Mhm.
And he's like, please. So he won that next meet,
Wow.
and he's been winning ever since. So he's going to the same meet I'm going to. But as other people, as I coach other people, everybody's like, "You got to powerlift. Like, why aren't you powerlifting?" One,
Mhm.
it'll give you more credibility. Two, you just should because you're so, I guess, good at it. Not really,
Mhm.
but you're so like mechanically inclined and all this
Yeah.
stuff. Like, just go for it. I'm like, you know what? I probably should. So this meet, I have two people competing in it, and myself. So I'm prepping for that. Uh, yeah, but the community is great. I
Yep.
love it. I love lifting heavy. It's fun
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
I love seeing, what people are capable of, and I just like having a good time with it, honestly. I do think, those compound movements are pillars for strength,
Mhm.
and just overall muscle growth. So I do encourage them for my clients as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny when you initially started talking, I laughed because you mentioned I was 149 and I'm like, holy shit, I know you're over 200 now. I
Yeah.
know you're cutting down, trying to cut down a little bit as well,
Mhm.
but I just laughed. I'm like, wow, you've put on some mass since
Yeah.
those days, to say the
Yeah.
least.
I was a
Because
toothpick.
yeah, because again, I'm telling you guys, Brandon is a absolute bull. I remember the first time I met you, which maybe we should have talked about this early on, but I remember we were in Orlando
Uh-huh.
for one of those meetups with Jason and everything.
Hmm.
And I was with Ryan, and Ryan's like, "Oh, I'm going to introduce you to Brandon." And I remember just coming to see you, and you're wearing a tank top. I'm like, "Dude, this dude's fucking traps are the size of my quads. This is ridiculous, absolute monster." Um, but it's too funny. Do you have any specific goals for your lifts for your squat, bench, deadlift?
So So I hurt my shoulder
Yeah.
snowboarding, of course. I went to Canada and I was snowboarding. The last day I was there, I'm like, I'm in the clear. I
Hmm.
didn't hurt myself. I fell,
Yep.
just wrecked my shoulder. I was like, man. So right now, currently, I'm trying to survive.
Yep.
Trying to just make it to the meet. I can't lift my
Yep.
shoulder over my head or anything, so it's rough.
Yep.
Probably partial tear, whatever. But
Sure.
we'll power through until then. Would
Hmm.
not recommend. I had aspirations. Right now they're kind of crumbling, and this
Yeah.
week I'm actually trying to figure it out. I would have liked to hit close to 600 on deads.
Wow.
I'm probably aiming for around 550 right now,
Okay.
maybe a little bit more. Squat, I I was my ego pointed towards one way for
Hmm.
the entire prep
Hmm.
until this last month, and I changed up my stance, so I haven't had time to build up. So I'm honestly just aiming for hoping to get 450,
Hmm.
which I would have loved to be closer to 500
Yep.
next time, hopefully. Bench. Bench is a stronger one for me, but my shoulder, so I'm guessing around 350.
Okay.
So not
Cool.
not too bad, not my best. I've
Yeah.
lifted more, but
Yeah. Dude,
we'll see.
bench was, I suck at bench. That's always my worst. Like deadlift squat was always pretty decent, but
Hmm.
for whatever reason, not that I sucked, I just probably needed to work on it more. And I just,
Sure.
again, my ego is like, I can lift more deadlift and I'm just going to deadlift more.
Yeah,
Keep
yeah.
deadlifting. I'll do another deadlift day. We'll do it 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Um, Very cool. Well, best of luck on that, man. I can't wait to
Thank
hear
you.
all about it. But now to kind of transition more into like coaching and that stuff again.
Mhm.
If there was maybe not one thing, we can talk about a couple things here, but like if there was a couple things or one thing you wish more people would understand about, improving their health, weight loss, fat loss, what comes to mind for you?
First thing that comes to my mind, we kind of hit on it, is just doing something.
Yeah.
Like imperfect action is probably the biggest thing most people need. I mean, especially the
Mhm.
people I work with. I'm sure you see it a lot, like that all or nothing mindset.
Sure.
It prevents people from working, doing anything. I've had clients just drive to the gym, not
Hmm.
even go in, just drive to the gym,
Sure.
and just taking one step. It's like a domino effect
Mhm.
usually. So that's initially what comes to mind, just starting, just doing one
Yeah.
thing at a time and not, thinking you have to be perfect, just doing something.
Yeah. Totally. That's what they always say is the hardest part of going to the gym is walking through the doors, right? But
Hmm.
what sort of came to mind for me there is a lot of times when I have someone on board for coaching, and obviously it's specific with weight loss and fat loss, we tend to think like nutrition, like, all right, we got to dial in nutrition, which is very true. We have to dial in our nutrition. But a lot of times I like to think of, hey, let's just really focus in on crushing the gym, like showing up, even if it's walking on the trail, like get in that environment. Because like what you just said, it ends up being this effect of, oh, I got to the gym. Now I want to just eat something. We're not working on nutrition, but you're already mindful of it. So it creates this effect of like, yeah, we're not necessarily focusing on this, but you start going to the gym, it kind of gets you in that environment, gets you in that headspace of like, hey, let's follow this up with, some protein, some fruits, some vegetables, a well-balanced meal, just from simply doing one little action of, hey, we're just going to focus on the gym and sort of go from there. So taking those imperfect actions, yes, this is the action I want you to take, but it ends up spreading into more actions, which, as we know, it's like actions, results, motivation, and then it creates more actions, more results, more motivation, and it kind of keeps cycling over and over and over again. Um, when it comes to making these changes. With that being said, to talk to little Brandon right now, young Brandon. Say, hey, buddy.
149, Brandon.
149 Brandon. What what if any would be like a piece of advice you'd give him?
Hmm. It's a good one. Um,
Don't be a little bitch.
yeah, yeah.
Just kidding.
Vulnerability is confidence.
I love that.
Yeah, so, social anxiety kid, right?
Hmm.
I wanted to fake confidence. I thought I had to be just automatically be this person, and I had to pretend. There's a lot of pretending, but now whenever I go on, do live talks in front of crowds, a lot of times I open up with vulnerability. Like I have extreme stage fright. Like it's pretty bad.
Sure.
Uh, when I'm up on stage and I tell everybody like I have bad stage fright and I'm
Mhm.
here anyway, it lifts so much off your shoulders. If you lead with vulnerability, it breeds confidence. And I think most people they neglect that.
Yeah.
I do believe because I worked with a lot of confidence, like with confidence with my clients and whatnot, building that. I think going to the gym, building strength, I think that's a good place to start because it initially builds that confidence more than anything. A girl is goes into a plane, is able to lift her luggage up, or stuff like that. It builds that confidence, but nothing builds that confidence, especially in me, than being upfront and being 100% me and honest and telling people I am this way. Like I have stage fright. I
Mhm.
have social anxiety. It takes power away from other people and my not really the power, yes, the power from other people to, think of you a certain way, but it puts that into their head already so they never see it.
Mhm.
Um it lowers the barrier for entry more than anything, I think.
Yeah. And have you ever seen 8 Mile with Eminem?
I have, yeah.
I literally just thought of the last rap battle when he just
Mm,
ripped on himself, so they had nothing to talk to him about. That,
right.
exactly what came in mind. He's like saying, like, "Yeah, I'm this. I live in a trailer park. You banged my girlfriend, like all these things."
Yeah.
And then they left him frozen. I think there's, like you said, like something really to be said where it's like you can be vulnerable, like step on the stage, be like, "Hey, I'm nervous right now. This is uncomfortable for me." And it just released so much of that. Just that like admitting that and being vulnerable with that. I think it does show a lot. And I think, even in particular, like big on like mental health with a lot of individuals, even like a lot of guys being very open and vulnerable because I think we grow up in this world. Maybe it's like I think of like my pop's generation. It's just like hold it in, don't be vulnerable, suck it up. But it creates a lot of unhealthy relationships or impacts your mental health quite a bit later on, where you're angry, you're on edge a lot. All these things. You might cope with something like whether it's alcohol, drugs, all these things and just ends up being a tough spiral effect because of it. But when we can, one, be vulnerable, I guess I'm turning this to like a mental health talk, but like
Yeah.
be okay with that, like opening up um, I think it's going to give you a lot of power and control of your life as well.
Yeah. And then to bring it back to the
Yeah.
military, and leadership, I deal with a lot of leadership, so I have to put that plug in there.
Yeah.
But one issue I found out later on, what that might a problem I had with being a leader is I wasn't vulnerable at all. Like my leadership, like I took leading from the front way too far to the point where every time we did a PT, we did a run, we did a hike, we did anything physically demanding or just demanding in general, I would not only do better, but I would just trump out everyone else. And looking back, thinking of the guys that were following me, that's it had an adverse effect where they didn't even want to try
Hmm.
because they knew they couldn't keep up. So it made them not even want to try and be better themselves. And I thought I was leading from the front and being an example that they should want to be me. But in
Hmm.
reality, I was just killing their motivation in the long run. And if I was just more vulnerable with them,
Hmm.
I would have been far better of a leader, and I am better of a leader because I'm more vulnerable. But also every time, and I neglected this, every time I was vulnerable with them and I was honest with them, because I tried to be. I mean, I thought I was, but I really wasn't. It
Hmm.
was better. They liked me more.
Sure.
So being human makes you more likable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's crazy. You're relatable. It's
Wild.
very fascinating how that happens. I have a personal question that I'm more interested in because I think you obviously talk a lot about leadership. I think you're very good at leadership from your experience. Obviously, like you had your ups and downs, but that's I think how you get better at things. You go through the
Right.
experience of it. If someone was like trying to get better at leadership, again, I'm talking more about myself here. Like, do you have any like recommendations for them, or like how would you advise them?
I have to go back to like honesty.
Okay.
Just being vulnerable and honest with yourself and others. And one belief that, going back to the military, me not thinking I deserve to be a leader,
Hmm.
it really now it's different because I'm stepping into that role. Like Jason, we had a conversation, Jason and I, and he told me that the people I'm not showing up, so people see that.
Hmm.
And because I don't believe I should be there, and people see that. And because I'm not showing up, I can't properly help them and they're not buying into whatever I'm selling or I'm
Hmm.
trying the advice I'm trying to give. Like if I can't step into the role that I'm in, people aren't going to follow.
Sure.
So one, believing in yourself and understanding. Like I have this bracelet right here, going back to the
Hmm.
mental health stuff. I have this bracelet. Ryan, our buddy,
Yeah.
actually gave me the idea. So I wear this and every morning I go through each and say things I'm grateful for. But at the end, I have this little talent lawn one
Hmm.
bead, and I tell myself I give my permission to lead today
Cool.
because it grounds me to the fact that who I'm trying to be and who I'm trying to show up for is other people. And that in order to serve better, I have to be able to step up for myself. So believe in yourself more than
I love
anything.
I love it. Well said, man. Well said. Dude, is there anything I missed?
No, other than that, I'm pretty boring.
No, no. Dude, I was very fascinated with this. It's so funny, like doing these interviews, I always like selfishly feel like I get so much out of it just from talking to people. And this
Mhm.
was one I was really excited for. Just again, meeting you back a couple months ago and just knowing a little bit about your story, but getting to know it on a little bit more of a deeper level of, I've seen your social media and stuff as well as like, where you started, military experience. Now you're in a powerlifting meet, doing coaching. Obviously we're met at a conference, so I know we're on the same sort of journey as well. So this was selfishly awesome on my end to get to hear a little bit more about your story. And I'm sure we could have like another one of these and dive into certain aspects a little bit deeper as well. But this conversation was awesome. And if people wanted to reach out to you, find you, ask you questions on whatever it may be, how can they find you?
Mainly my Instagram.
Okay.
I so everybody comes to there. That's Hagar underscore the fit bear, I
Yep.
believe. Yeah, it should be that still.
We should have told the story how you fell asleep next to a bear while you were in the woods on a
Oh
hike or
yeah, I
hunting.
forgot about that one.
That would have been a good one. We'll save it for the next one.
Next time, yeah.
But I'll link anything, like I can link anything too in the show notes so you guys can see that
Awesome.
down below. But dude, thank you so much for coming on here and
I
talk for the last hour or so.
I appreciate, you having me on here also. I feel like I should have had a donut the whole time. I'm sorry. Maybe next time
Next
we'll have
time.
to consume one on camera.
I'll have to DoorDash them to my interviewees every time I interview them. Like we have a
Oh, that's a
donut
good
together.
idea. That's a good idea.
Get them nice and but I know you're cutting as well, so I know that not that
That's
you
true.
can't have it. I know it'll just make things a little
Yeah.
harder.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, man, and for everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. As always, I appreciate you and I believe in you. And of course, go eat the damn donut. We'll talk
Eat the
soon.
donut.
Eat the donut.